Hey everybody, it's Erica here from In the Company of Cards. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you've been here for a while. Thank you so much for all of the birthday wishes. I had a wonderful day yesterday. Really enjoyed my birthday celebration, and here I am, a year older. Okay. Uh, So I have a bunch of issues that I thought I would look at. And then I'm going to make an announcement about the direction of the channel and remind you also about what's coming up on Friday. So, uh, one of the big pieces of news today is the fact that Kamala Harris, who said she would announce in August what her intentions were regarding running for governor of California. She jumped the gun a little bit and announced today that she will not be seeking that position. I didn't think she would. If you look back at past videos, I didn't think she would. But at any rate, um, should we look at why? I don't know. Let's see what the cards will tell us about why she has decided not to enter the gubernatorial race. You know, you could argue that if you were vice president and up for the top spot and then got have happened to you what happened to you, you may feel as though being the governor of California would be a little bit of a come down. I don't know. Um, Maybe she just has other fish to fry, life to live, uh, you know, wounds to heal. Um, I don't know. So we're going to use the older woman for Kamala. She is 60 or 60 something, and see whether we can find out why she's decided not to enter the race, which was probably hers to win. Okay, so we are looking for the older woman that will stand for Kamala Harris. So this is Harris, two cards that came before her, and then the two cards that follow her. You know, I don't feel like I need a ton of cards to look at this. I'm really not interested in the minutia or the gossip around, to the extent that there is any. I just wanted maybe a one sentence answer that would send me in give me a direction in terms of why. So we have Clover, we have the young man, we have Harris, we have the whip, and we have the heart. Here's what I think, what the cards are saying. Uh, you know, this is a card that says, I feel like I just want to be happy. I just want to enjoy my life. I can mirror it with the last card. I want to love my life. I want to be happy when I get out of bed each day. And whether that means that I'm traveling with Doug or staying home and cooking for my family or writing a book or whatever I'm doing, I deserve to be happy. And she definitely does. She didn't know anybody anything. I do think that had she entered the race before I pulled the cards, if you recall, I said that I thought that um, the spot would have been hers for the taking, at least on the Democratic side, right? Would there have been a primary even with other people contesting? Maybe there would have been people younger, more, uh, hmm, I mean, I think that there could have been people who could have made the race difficult for her. Young people, candidates, uh, who would have held her feet to the fire and said things like, well, so what happened on June 6th, June 6th, November 6th or November 5th. Where have you been? You know? I mean, I think she would have been given a run for her money in a way that would have been, I'm going to say, disrespectful. And I just think she thinks, you know, let me have my happiness, let me have my peace. You all, good luck. God bless. I've done my duty and served my time and got what I got for it in return. So yeah, no, pass me with that. So I think that's just it. Don't blame her. Don't blame her at all. Okay. So moving from that, I know no sooner did the news come over my phone that Harris had stepped back and said she wasn't going to put her hat in the ring, but Katie Porter sent me a fundraising request. So we know that Katie Porter is smart as a whip, especially when it comes to uh, economy stuff. She's a great numbers person. She can explain it to you like you're five and help you understand stuff. Um, she's funny, very well liked in California. What will Katie Porter's chances be of gaining that gubernatorial uh, nod since Harris is, out of commission? I don't know who the Republican candidate would end up being, but I'm just gonna, skip them and go right to the finish line and say, how would Katie Porter do? Now, Katie Porter has kids that are just about grown up now, so we're going to use the older woman for her this time. And what are Katie Porter's chances? She has put her hat in the ring. She is definitely running. What are her chances for the gubernatorial spot in California? Okay, same card as before, but this time it's Katie Porter, what that card will stand for. Okay, so this time Katie Porter in the gubernatorial race, state of California governor's spot. Okay, I just pulled clarifiers on the last card. So we have our hardworking birds. They've been working very hard this week and last week. Birds. We have the fox. We have Katie Porter. We have the ring, and we have the rider. So, um, birds. I mean, you know, she's a known quantity. She's been in Congress before. She's very well liked. So that means that the buzz on her will be good. And what's the buzz on her? That she's really, really smart. Not just smart, she's quick. And she is willing to hold people's, Republicans' feet to the fire. Um, So she's a pro at what she does. She'd balance the budget. She'd she'd uh she'd help redesign the state boundaries should it come to that. If Texas is going to gerrymander, I don't know, maybe some of the blue states will be gerrymandering. And she is smart. She's a smart cookie. She really is. She's here in the center, and the ring is really nice here. She's not just smart, she's committed to public service. She's always been committed to the state of California. And so this would return her to the public eye. So I like seeing this. And the final card is the rider. So I think she would, again, name recognition. Everybody knows her here. She's a nationally known figure for her smarts when it comes to the economy. Um, so she wouldn't have to, get her name out there. It's already out. And then the rider is about, news. So what's the news? Well, I drew three clarifiers for this rider. And we have the lily, the clouds, and the key. I really like this. Um, because the message for us here in terms of this candidacy is that, we are all seeking some kind of respite in this in these uncertain times. And she is nothing if not clarifying and cleansing. She's very clear and very plain spoken, and there's something very comforting about that. And I love seeing the key here because the key, it's as good as the sun. It unlocks doors, it answers questions, it opens a space up. So I'll tell you, I think that she would do very well. Again, I don't know who the Republican will be that she would be up against and whoever else, would throw their hat in the ring. But I think she would stand a very, very good chance, especially now that Harris has said she's not going to put her name in. So, Katie Porter, I know you know that name. If you forgot who she is, you will be reminded. So that's good. Uh, a word on Maxwell. I don't care if it's Ghislaine. I don't care if it's Ghislaine. I don't care any more than I care how to pronounce Bongino. I don't care. So I'm going to call her Maxwell because I'm not going to get into a argument over how to pronounce her name. However, Maxwell. So we know that the latest is that she has, through her attorneys, announced that she would be more than happy to testify before a congressional committee in person, live. But she had some conditions, and the conditions were that she didn't want to do any kind of testifying like that prior to the adjudication of her case in the Supreme Court. Remember that she's got an appeal coming up. She is appealing her sentence on a technicality. Um, the technicality is, she says, that as I explained last time, that there was this non-prosecution agreement made with Epstein. It is true. Viewers have noted this, and it is true. Maxwell was not named in that agreement as someone whom the feds agreed not to prosecute. So that's her first problem, is that the agreement may have said, yeah, okay, nobody else will be prosecuted. But I think there were some people named. Maxwell's name was not one of those names. But she thinks it's a blanket thing, and therefore, she should be let go. Getting off on a technicality is not the same thing as getting off because you're innocent, by the way. By the way. Very interesting that we've heard some Republican talking heads and politicians say things like, you know, it could be that she's a victim too. Are you serious? Anyway, I don't even want to give that any more airtime than just mentioning it. The Supreme Court has announced that they will be taking up her plea for relief. I think it's like the middle towards the end of September. So, so what that means is that she would sit on any potential testimony for another 8 weeks. Another 8 weeks. So I don't think anything will happen in the next week, 8 weeks, because first of all, I don't think that 47 is gonna make a move regarding her until he hears what the Supreme Court has to say. Remember, he's got friends in high places, meaning the Supreme Court, and he's probably hoping that they will let her off because then he doesn't have to do it. I don't think they will. On a technicality, no, I don't think so. I think she has um, shot her best shot, and I don't think it's gonna hit the mark. I don't think that he will. I don't think he will pardon her either. So I guess the question is, what will she do with whatever information she supposedly has? Now, remember, yes, she can be made to, she's a prisoner for one thing. She can be forced in front of a congressional committee. They'd probably do it via Zoom or something, but they could drag her into DC. They could. Here's what they can't do. They cannot prevent her from taking the fifth. And if she wants immunity, meaning that she says, yeah, I'll testify, but anything I say, if it incriminates me, it can't incriminate me. Like you can't hold me liable, responsible in a criminal way for anything that I say. That's one of her conditions. Uh, you know, the committee could say, we want you to come next week. They could do that. They could drag her in front of the committee. She will then take the fifth. If she were granted some kind of immunity um, from further prosecution, she would not be allowed to take the fifth. She would have to answer all the questions. But if she's not going to be, I don't think she's going to be granted any kind of immunity. And so she would take the fifth. So I think that there will be nothing major happening in that case with her until that 8 week mark. I suspect that um, the court will say, yeah, pass us with this. We're not interested in taking this case. Um, so I think that's what will happen. And then it will be left to 47. And I've read on this. I think she is really between a rock and a hard place. But apparently she has information, she has documentation. Whatever she's got, it's old, right? She doesn't know anything post whatever year he killed himself, 20, whatever it was, 6 years ago, I guess. But let's see, what will she do with her information? Somebody asked me this to look at this. Now, can she write a book? I'm pretty sure she could, but I don't think that she would reap any of the benefits of writing a book. I don't think she would be able to keep the proceeds from the book. It would probably go to some sort of victims fund. So therefore, why write the book? Could she just sort of say, let me spill the beans on whoever, because if I'm in jail forever, let me just, bring everybody down with me. She could do something like that. So the question is, what will she do with what she knows? So I have to think about what card I want to use for what she knows. I think I'm going to use I'm going to use the birds again. Birds is um, talking. It's also scuttlebutt, information. Like this is just for the purposes of this particular reading. This card stands for what Maxwell knows. And what I want to know is what is she going to do with what she knows? So we're going to put it back in the deck. I'm going to shuffle like really well. Whoops. And this is how I shuffle. I don't bridge shuffle, like I was playing cards because I'm actually not playing cards. I am divining. This is divination work. So I don't, you know, I take it seriously. Oh, and there's our birds. Okay. So I will make sure they are well shuffled. Um, okay. So we're looking for the birds, and that will stand for whatever information Maxwell has. And I believe she will stay in jail. I believe she will be granted zero relief by either 47 or by the Supreme Court. I think she's in there for the duration of her sentence, and I could be wrong, but I could be right too. Anyway, what's going to happen to the information that she knows? We're using the birds to stand for that scuttlebutt, that information, those details. What will happen to that information that she knows? Okay, that stands for the information that Maxwell knows. Hmm. Okay. So we have the letter, we have the young woman, the information Maxwell knows, the bouquet, and the tower. So, short version, uh, whatever, think of this as the list, even though I don't think there's an actual singular list per se. There are flight logs, there are ledgers, there are letters. There are a lot of documents, uh, and you know, I think she will be in a weakened position once all of this is decided, meaning that the court says, yeah, no, we're not taking your case. 47 says, oh, sorry, Ghislaine, whatever your name is, we were friends, but now we're not, so I can't help you. She will feel in a weakened position here. Uh, this is the information. So I think she will continue to do whatever she can to make her time go more easily in jail because the bouquet is a reward. So hold on, let's see what we get. So I didn't pull clarifiers on anything, but I pulled clarifiers on the information itself. And I have fish, rider, and clover. I suspect that one of the things that she'll want to do is sell it to the highest bidder. Literally sell it to the highest bidder through her attorney. Now, and here that she sees this information as, a gift. If I sell it to you, that means I chose you. And so here's your gift. But the clarifiers are the cross, the child, and the coffin. I'll tell you something. I don't know if she would, how can I put this? Have a chance to do that, to sell it to the highest bidder. Cross, that's pain. Coffin, we know what a coffin is. And she is stuck between the card of pain and the card of endings. And this is the child card. The child card is similar to the young woman card that we have here, which is to say, she is powerless. She doesn't know anything new. Uh, there are other ways of getting this information out of the Epstein vault, so to speak. She is an adjudicated perjurer. She's a liar. So, of what real value is her information? I think that she thinks she has something really valuable, but I don't think in the end it will be perceived that way by anybody, by the court, by the Congress, by 47, and by anybody who, she thinks that she can sell it to and get a nice price for. I don't think so. I don't think so. Uh, Final card is the tower. This is prison, and clarifiers are the stork, the heart, and the dog. I mean, she might drib and drab it out to people, who will then drib and drab it out to us, people who have become friendly or friends with her. I don't know if you have friends in jail. You might have associates, but maybe, but maybe you'd be wise not to consider them friends. Um, but I still think she will try to use, even if it's something like, I don't know, all the girls sit around in the day room and swap stories. She can tell stories that have people on the edge of their seats. I mean, that's a far cry, is it not, from having Congress or the Supreme Court or 47 in your or a nation in your thrall. I think she'll be telling stories in the day room because I don't think that her information will be as valuable as she wants us to think that it is. So there you go. That's enough of that of her. I mean, hopefully I won't have to bring her up again until uh, for the next 60 days, when the Supreme Court will say, yes, we'll take the case, or no, we won't take the case. All right. So I see that the UK and Canada have joined France in recognizing a Palestinian state, recognizing Palestine as a state. I looked at whether other countries would follow suit. I saw that they would. And here we have Canada. I love Canada and France. And I love France because they published the French edition of my book. So I love me some France. They have joined, the UK has joined, and Canada has joined France, who was number one, in saying they will recognize a Palestinian state. So I would like to know, just cut to the chase, what effect, and I think that there will be other countries that jump on this as well. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Australia did the same thing, for example, and others. What I want to know is, will this acknowledgement of Palestine as a state, a legitimate state, will this put any kind of dent in 47 and Netanyahu's plan to, I don't know, pave paradise and put up not a parking lot, but a beachfront monopoly after they've committed genocide by starving everybody out of Palestine, uh, or starving all the Palestinians? So, what will be the result of um, these three countries, and I'm sure there will be more, recognizing uh, a Palestinian state? It's because obviously there's more to it than that. In other words, if they're recognized as a state, well, theoretically, that should grant them the rights and privileges of a state. And among the rights and privileges of a state should be not being genocided. I'm just saying. So, what will happen when they are recognized in this way? I think that I'm going to use the bouquet for the card of recognition as a state because the bouquet is the card for recognition. They are being acknowledged and recognized as a state. It's very important. but how important? What will happen as a result of that? So we're going to use the bouquet and see what we get. You know, I'm always saying that that energy is mutable, which is it is. It's true. It's mutable. And I think that while there may be some vague ideas about what this will mean for them, I don't think it's been all hashed out yet. And I say that, and I might pull clarifiers, but I say that because I have the rider and the clouds. Here's being recognized as a state. We have the book, and then we have the site. So this makes me think that, the rider is about this announcement, this news. But the thing is, the card that follows it is the clouds. Like, what does that mean? What will that do for them? How will that help them? How will that put food in their mouths? How will that, um, you know, deter Israel from being who they are? Now, this card, I can mirror with the fourth card because we got the bouquet in the middle for the recognition. This is the book, and the book is about things we don't know. So it feels to me like this recognition so far is just a first step that these countries will have to ask themselves, and it won't just be these three. Don't hold your breath for it to be the United States, sadly, but anyway, it will be more than just these three, but they will be asking themselves, okay, well, what does that mean? Like how can we use this status that we are conferring upon Palestine? How can we use this to help them? And I think they don't know yet. Uh, Now, the scythe is the last card, and I can mirror it with the rider. Now, I will say this. I mean, here I think that, this is the message, and the message, I think this is just the clarity of the announcement. In other words, oh, I don't know. Should we call him a state? Should we not call him a state? I don't know. No, that's not the thing that they're undecided about. That has been decided because this is the card for a decision. What is still up in the air and being worked out is what does that mean for them? How can we use this to help them? Um, so let me pull clarifiers. I'll pull something on the bouquet. Okay. Okay, that's good. So again, this is that status of, being recognized as a state. It will help them financially. It will improve their lot because it means that they have friends in the international community, people who are neither turning a blind eye nor aiding and abetting the genocide like the US is. Just saying, entertainment purposes only, and allegedly. But I mean, who are you going to believe? Uh, this is letting them know and letting the world know that they have friends in high places, countries, governments that are acknowledging them. This will improve things for them and cost money, money and resources to flow their way. I pull clarifiers on the book because the book, one of the things the book is about, things we don't know, like how much help can they be given as a result of this? What does this mean? So we have the moon, the tower, and the woman. I mean, the moon and the tower, this is great. I mean, it gives them status in the world. This is reputation. And this is, if they're a state, states are led by governments. This is just gives them more gravitas. Um, but again, there's a lot that's squishy about Palestine. Like who's the head of it? Who's the government? Whom do these countries deal with? That's a little bit sort of squishy still. Uh, but again, this is a decision that has been made. It's a formality that, yes, will bring them money and the protection of friends in high places. So this decision will create trouble, of course, for America, the American government, 47 and his ilk, and Israel. It was absolutely the right thing to do, and it was kind of a boss move. That saying to America and Israel, you're not the only game in town. We are going to step to you as the civilized nations of the world, three of them anyway. We are stepping to you, US. We are stepping to you, Israel. So game on. So I like that. I think that's good. Okay. Speaking of this genocide, I wanted to talk about what happened to Chris Smalls. If you don't know his name, you should know his name. If you know Greta Thunberg's name, then you should know Chris Smalls' name. Greta Thunberg, remember, is the young activist, the climate activist. She was on a ship. There's a thing called the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, and they are ships that are peopled by people who are of some substance, Greta Thunberg being one. And they go on these ships with supplies like food and um, medicine and all that, and try to get it to Gaza. We know that Greta Thunberg and her fellow sailors on that one ship were stopped and turned back. Uh, so Chris Smalls was on another such flotilla, also sponsored by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. His ship was called the Handala, and they were also stopped. And Chris Smalls was beaten and choked by IDF. Just so you know, there were how many people on the ship? There were 21 people total on the ship. The ship carried food, baby formula, diapers, and medicine. And Chris Smalls was the only Black member of this flotilla's crew in this particular mission. Now, who is he? He is an activist, a labor activist. He was very big in trying to unionize the Amazon workers in upstate. It was in upstate New York somewhere. Oh no, it wasn't Staten Island, New York, which is a borough of New York. And so he gained some notoriety, some fame, some deep respect, among working people because he was trying to help organize them into a union. Anyway, only Black guy on the boat, and the only person on this flotilla who was kicked, choked, tortured. So, I'm going to say this. Israel, who believe themselves to be the children of light, are known to be uh, not the most broad-minded when it comes to race. Certainly in regard to the Palestinians, but also in regard to Black people and their own population of Black Jews. But I'm trying to be, I don't know, maybe who knows what happened. Why? I'm just going to ask the cards. I already have my own opinion. But I would like to know why was Chris Smalls abused in that way? I'm going to use the whip to stand for the abuse. And I would like to know why he, of all the people on that ship, was singled out for abuse. I mean, anybody who still thinks that Israel is some paragon of virtue, let me disabuse you of that by speaking on this abuse, not to mention the genocide. Uh, why was he singled out? Okay, so we're going to use the whip because, of course, that's an instrument of abuse, right? Among other things. I mean, just so you know, the whip is other things too, like it's sex. The whip is the card for the writer, the card for the athlete. But for the purposes of this particular reading, the whip will stand for the abuse suffered at the hands of the IDF by labor activist Chris and humanitarian Chris Smalls. Okay, so we're looking for the whip. Why was he the one singled out for abuse? So we have the book, the stork, the whip, the house, and the child. So I don't think that there was anything that he did specifically any different than any of his fellow uh, what's the word? Uh, this was a mission of compassion. His fellow sailors, we'll just say for the sake of argument. I don't think he did anything different than what they did, but um, nothing that could be identified, pinpointed, you know, um, blamed, given as a reason for why he was physically abused. Uh, you know, I guess in retrospect, they probably wish they hadn't done it. I'm sure that um, the energy was heightened. I mean, everybody was probably on edge, including the IDF soldiers. The whip is in the middle. I think that, I think that they think he stepped out of his place and they wanted him to know, you're in our house now. Who do you think you are coming here and doing this? The white people, it's one thing, but what are you doing here? Uh, it was to humiliate him, to make him feel less than. It didn't work, by the way. But that's how saw him. They saw him as unequal to the other members of that mission, that ship's mission, because he's black. I'm just saying. So I pulled cards on the whip. This was the abuse that he suffered, and clarifiers are the mice, the ring, and the garden. It was to instill fear. And this is a fear that I'm sure Black Israelis experience. It certainly is what Black people here in this country feel. It's just like, it's the same old, right? Try to engender fear in them in this public way. Um, I guess Israel and America are cut from the same cloth in more ways than one. This fourth card is the house, and the clarifiers are the dog, the cross, and the letter. In other words, this is our house. How dare you, you N-word, come here under the guise of wanting to help? Because we know all you are is trouble. Uh, no matter what your paperwork says, you're trouble. How can you, a Black man, be an activist for this cause? What's it to you? Here we have this child. It was to make him, again, to make him feel less than, to feel small. I think emotions were heightened. That's the card for emotion. And I mean, not for nothing, as we would say in Jersey when I lived there. This is 47. 47 is, I don't care what he says about, oh, it looks like those children are hungry. He's hand in glove with Netanyahu. And I think that they thought, what difference does it make if we beat this guy up? In fact, 47 would probably appreciate it. Um, Also, this is if this is the card for justice, where is the justice? The book is about things that we can't find, we don't know, they're hidden. Where is the justice in Gaza? Definitely hidden under a rock. So, Chris Smalls, he's fine. I mean, not, it's fine aside from having been beaten up. But I think it's important to say his name, acknowledge what happened, and put that in the basket of, um, if we want to talk about deplorables, Israel and the IDF are deplorables, allegedly, and entertainment purposes only. And our money goes in their pockets, and that's a fact. Okay. The other people on that in that particular boat trip, that mission of mercy were parliamentarians, they had medics, they had engineers, there were a couple of journalists, and then they had Chris Smalls, who is this labor activist and the only Black person, and he's the one they beat up. So if you come up with another reason, keep it to yourself because I already know why. Okay. This was interesting. I saw that Australia, and I know I have a lot of Australian viewers, and I was delighted to see this. I will be on, by the way, with Lena in next week sometime. Well, probably not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. It'll be a Sunday conversation. Lena from Tarot Down Under. But anyway, Australia introduced a bill to limit total spending on a political party by billionaires to $20,000. So, in other words, this would preclude uh, a Musk rising up in trying to influence the Australian elections. So, I think that's great. $20,000 limit. I guess my question is, will the US ever be able to follow suit? We have such an interesting relationship with money. Money is very important in the US. Money is power in the US. Money is how we identify ourselves. So I am not optimistic that we would follow Australia's example, just like we haven't followed, I don't know, Norway's example for how to do education in a prison in a compassionate, forward-thinking, um, respectful, sensible way. Look up how Norway does prison. Look up how they do education. I mean, they are models for that. And, would the US ever take a leaf out of their book? No, because we think we know everything. And I use we, loosely. So, would the US ever consider putting a limit on how much a single person can spend on a political campaign, give to a political party? Uh, Australia's trying to cap it at 20,000. We know there is no cap here. Not really. So I think what I'll use is the mice, because mice would be, decreasing, limiting that money. Okay. Would we ever take a book, or will we in the foreseeable future take a book out of a leaf out of the Australian playbook and limit the amount of money an individual can contribute to a political party or to a campaign? Said I was going to look for mice because that would be limiting. Okay, so we've got the anchor, the young woman, mice, tower, heart. I mean, heart's nice, right? But uh no, I think we are a long way from that. We are in love with who we are and how we do things and how important money is in making things move in this country. I think that the movers and the shakers would not want to make themselves weaker by being unable to accept money from whoever they want to accept it from. And I think that we just would tell ourselves, no, this is how we do it. We're not gonna take that leaf out of that Australian book. Um, yeah. So, decrease the spending of a single entity or individual. Well, it would certainly go a long way to make people like us better, meaning our own citizens like us better. It would be popular with people, but I don't think the powers that be want to do it. I mean, look at the Democrats and the fact that there are so many geriatric lawmakers who just are wedded to power and money and influence to the extent that they won't let the younger politicians take over. We are very stuck in our ways, but listen, good for Australia. I just want to, you know, give a nod to that. I think that's great that what you're doing. Uh, Last issue, and then I'll say a couple of other things, is you know how 47 or Pam Bondi or whoever, they want to essentially charge Obama with treason. Um, for supposedly lying about the Russians trying to infiltrate the election in 2016. Why we're going, I mean, yeah, 2016. Why we're digging back to 2016, I don't know, but it's a distraction. But what I'd like to know is, treason is a serious crime. We're all going, oh, for God's sake, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? But how many things have we said that about in relation to 47? Who thought that a 34-time adjudicated felon would be the president for the second time? Like, there's a lot of things that have happened that we would have said, oh, that's never going to happen. So I just would like to know. I understand that it's a diversionary tactic. I get that, but a lot of these diversionary tactics seem to gain traction And I would just like to know whether this bogus charge will go anywhere. So I'm trying to think what I want to, try to look at my cards and see what I want to use. Oh, I'm going to use the site. Will this attack on Obama stick at all? I mean, at the very least, he'll probably have to hire lawyers and then be deposed. And, at the very least, it's going to be an annoyance. But I think more than an annoyance, just a shame, a shame. And these are people who don't think that his election in 2020, in 2008 should have happened. They'd like to erase the fact that it happened. Just like they want to call the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts the Donald J. Trump Center for the Performing Arts. Are you kidding? What, reality TV? Is that arts? Because what are you talking about? There's a big dismantling going on. I'm going to be talking about something specific related to this dismantling with Lena on Sunday, next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday. So stay tuned for that. But I just want to know, will this attack um, stick? Will it go anywhere? So we're going to look for the site, and this is this attack on Obama, accusing him of treason. I mean, and of course, we do know, do we not, that the reason that Obama is being attacked in this way is the same exact reason that Chris Smalls was beaten up by the IDF. What do the two have in common? So anyway, okay, we're looking for the site, the attack on Obama. Is it going to gain any traction? Stranger things have happened, right? Okay, so we have the whip, the clouds, scythe, the moon, and the dog. Uh, I'm gonna pull, I'll let you watch. I'm gonna pull clarifiers, I think, on that and that. Okay. So, you know, it's just to, it's the same thing as Chris Smalls being choked and kicked. That's what they're doing to Obama with this charge. It's stupid. It has no basis. If you dig into it to any degree, you come up with smoke and mirrors. It's nonsense. It's meant to be a an attack on his reputation, but we have the dog at the end, and I like that. Um, but let's look at the clarifiers. So the scythe, again, I just feel like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. They really don't know what they're doing with this attack. That they're not going to be able to make it stick. It's meant to damage Obama's reputation by having people talk. The magosphere, whatever, anything but talk about Epstein, right? And then I drew some cards on the dog because to me this felt like a good card. Uh, Anchor, mice, and ring. So, I think that people, if they had to choose Obama or Trump, who was the uh, the more trustworthy of the two, it would be Obama. I think his reputation is solid, but I think that, the attempt will be made to tarnish it, and it's not the first time. This is not the first rodeo he's been to, right? I mean, from birther, the whole birther, show us your birth certificate. It's just, it's abusive. It's just a different form of abuse, but it's the same abuse that Chris Smalls just received. So it's a nuisance, but I do not think that, we have to worry about any kind of, in the end, treason charges, treason trial, or anything like that for Obama. But it's got to feel bad for him. Um, we all know what it comes from. We all know what it's about, and it's unfortunate. I think he thought that we were a different country than we actually are. And I'm going to quote again John Proctor from Arthur Miller's play, The Crucible. We are as we always were, only naked now. So, finally, a word about what's coming in for the next year. I love birthdays and I love New Year's because those are sort of two opportunities that you have during the year, even though you can do this at any time, to stop, reevaluate, change direction, etc., whatever. So, what's new for the channel, this is nothing earth-shaking or anything, is that, instead of me sort of popping on in an impromptu way, like I generally have done, I think that I'm going to commit to being here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with the occasional Sunday. So I will probably always put up once a month, um, a Sunday conversation with Lena, and then probably another time in the month, I'll either come on and talk to you myself or I'll have another guest. So it'll be 3 times a week and then the occasional Sunday. And that way you can count on that like clockwork. If there is breaking news that I feel I need to look at, I will interrupt my hiatus on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Saturday to come on and talk about whatever that is. But you can count on my being here 3 days a week, um, and then on the occasional Sunday. The reason for that is that my big plan for my this next year, because next year's the big birthday, is that I'm writing a book. So that takes a lot of time and energy. It's a very different book than the one that a lot of you have that I wrote, The Language of Lettermond. This is a different kind of book. And so I am in my hermit year as of this birthday. And so I will be taking a lot of time to rest and reflect and write. But I certainly will be here also with you on a regular basis. So I then finally just want to remind you about Friday. Now, I don't know why somebody would come in my comments and say, "Can I have a general reading, please?" Like, why? What made them think I'd do that on this channel? I don't. If you'd like a reading, a personal reading, send me an email. If you click the about, the more, whatever, the button that will give you more information about the channel, you can find out how to contact me for a personal reading. I'm booked yeah, past the summer, so we're looking at fall, if you want to book a reading. But on Friday, again, I'm going to be doing personal readings. I will be doing them live here on YouTube. It'll be a YouTube live, which is to say, do not put your questions in this video in the comments section. Please don't do that because I won't see them. Um, I will be doing this total of 3 hours on Friday. This is my way of saying thank you to you for your kind reception of me this year. The channel turns 1 on Friday, 1 year old, And I'm delighted to have you all here, and I just wanted to say thanks. So I will be doing 5 card readings for people on their personal stuff. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, so bear that in mind. And I will be doing readings from noon Pacific until 1 Pacific on Friday. Do the math so that you can get the time zone right. And I'm doing that, the noon one, because it probably is more convenient for people in Europe to get in on this. I will take the questions as they come, start at the top, work my way down the list. You will not be able to get on the list until I open the live. So don't put the questions here. No, 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 no. Wait until you see the sign that I've gone live. There's a button that you can push so that you can get notified when I do a video or when I come on live. So you might want to push that so that you're notified. But I'm telling you, it'll be at noon for Europe, noon Pacific, and then I will come on again the same day from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. Pacific. And that is to make things convenient for people in the Americas and in Australia. So, I'm looking forward to answering your questions. I will have somebody read them to me as they come up, and I will have my deck and I will be doing 5 card readings. I've done this twice before. I did it at Halloween and I did it at New Year's. And it was very popular, and people said that the readings were really helpful. And again, this is my way of saying thank you to you. So if you've not liked, uh, shared, subscribed yet, please, I would love it if you do all 3. Hit the notification button so you know when I'm coming. And I am saying to you, it will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the occasional Sunday. I will be still writing on Substack, normally last year. Um, as of last week. Substack was what I wrote on Wednesdays. I'm moving that to Thursday. So I will be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, on Substack on Thursday, and then occasionally here on Sunday. So today is Wednesday, and you won't see me tomorrow because it's Substack day. And I want to rest up and rest my voice for what's coming on Friday, which is all the readings. But you will see me on Friday, going live at noon Pacific. So if it's noon Pacific, it is 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can work it from there. Okay, hope that's clear. If it's not, replay, run it back, replay it, and then it'll be clear. Okay, you guys. Thank you again for all the birthday wishes, and I really appreciate that. Happy birthday to those of you who are also Leos. Several of you wrote me and said that you were, and that even some of you had birthdays the same day as mine yesterday. So, I mean, I think Leo's the best sign, but don't tell anybody I said that. Okay, and I will see you for readings, live readings on Friday, again, noon Pacific, and then 5 to 7 Pacific on Friday, PM. Okay, take care.